Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the 2D platformer tutorial. In the last episode, we actually made our level manager available for everybody in our scene, so we can call some nice function just like win or increase my score, stuff like that. We're going to be coding later on. Today, what we'll be doing is we are going to make a little bit of UI, just a really simple UI, so we can first display the amount of lives the player has and also his score. And just a side note like that, I've added this part to my level because I needed some more challenge and I really enjoy the wall jump for some reason. It's quite a nice mechanic, actually. Okay, so let's get started with the UI. What we're going to do is we are going to go right here in our hierarchy tab and we're going to right click on that and create a new UI. And let's start with, say, a panel. Yeah. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is you're gonna see that really big panel pop up, and that's your UI. Actually, if you hit play right now, you're gonna be able to see the whole thing. And our screen is now a little bit weirder. That's because the panel is on top of the whole thing. Now, if we take a look up here in our hierarchy, you can see that we've created a canvas, and we've also created a event system. So the event system is going to be useful if we have interaction with our UI. Say we have buttons in our UI and we're able to click them, then the event system is going to be useful. So by default, they just put it out there. We're going to leave it there because that's just good practice to have. Okay, and then the canvas is something that you cannot resize actually. And the reason that is because it takes the size of your whole screen. Now imagine that our game was a say a portrait phone game. It would resize itself to be portrait shape. So let's go in game over here, the game tab. If you don't have it, you can find it under window, then game, or hit Ctrl 2. And we're actually going to resize our game up here. This is the aspect ratio that you choose. Let's make it 3:2. Now if we go back here, you're going to see that the canvas has changed his size, basically. So the canvas is a direct representation of your screen size. Say we make it 500 by 500, then the canvas is going to be square-shaped. Now I am going to make this game in 16:9 because that's the resolution of most screens, and we'll just leave it like that. Okay, so now this is the whole canvas, and we don't really need to mess around with him. He's like the root of all that good UI stuff. Let's go down here. We actually created a panel, and our panel took the whole size of the canvas. We're going to modify that. We are simply going to put that panel, say upper left. So what we'll do is we'll go here in direct transform, click on the anchor preset, and I'm going to choose upper left. I'm also going to hold shift so I can put his pivot point upper left as well. Now this whole thing over here is now anchored right over there. And if we modify its width, say we want to make it 250 by say 100, you can now see that it has changed. If you want to see your whole canvas, you're gonna select it. So if you select your canvas and then you open up the component right here, then you can see this is your whole screen and this is our panel up there. Let's hit play to see how it looks. As you can see, we now have the panel of that size anchored top left, and if we were to resize our game, say 5:4, it would still be right there. Okay, let's go back in 16:9. We're actually going to display stuff now. So inside of that panel, I like to have the following information. So I like to be able to track my current score and also how many lives I have left. Now we can do this in so many ways, but we're going to start by simple text. Okay, so I'm going to right click on the panel, go in UI, and I'll choose text. As you can see, some new text just spawned. It has the same exact component as the panel, so the direct transform. This is of course going to be used to position your text inside of that panel. So say we use center, we also anchor it in the center, and then we set the width of the whole text box, maybe say the whole size of this, so 250. and 30 as height, so that's good. Now down here we have the text component, which is just a text editor component. So basically you can choose your font. For me I only have this one imported. Font style, so make it bold. Font size, make it say 16. Also line spacing and alignment. I'll put this in the center. I'll center my text again. Okay. Now over here is the text that we are pretty much just writing on the screen. So we'd like this to be, say, current score. And then we have our value here. But how exactly are we going to put the value from the game inside of that text box? This is our text. I'll rename it for score text. And I'll also duplicate that, so copy paste, Control C, Control V. And this is going to be our Hitpoint text. Now I'll just move this a little bit below him, and this a little bit up, and I'll change the Hitpoint text for Hitpoint. Okay, so now we should be ready to put some values in there at the runtime, and the way we're going to do that is with a reference to those very text object over here. So the component, we need to find them in our script. We're going to use a really simple way that we usually use. So we're going to go inside our level manager, which is the guy that is going to contain all that information. Well, it is already the guy that contains that information. If you remember correctly, up here we have Hitpoint and score. And that is all inside our level manager script. So this guy, the level manager, is now going to have two new fields. They are going to be a reference to those very text component here. So these things that I'm clicking on, we're going to keep them in our level manager so we can update them whenever we want. Now, they are text object and they're not included in the namespace directly because it's a new update. So they are included in the Unity engine.ui. We will actually use that up here. So if you go at the very top of your script and write using Unity engine.ui, you should now have access to a public text object. So the text type is now available. And this is going to be, say, the score text. Just below that, I'll do public text Hitpoint text. Okay. Now if we go back inside our engine and we choose the level manager, you will see two new fields appear, so the score text and the Hitpoint text. Now in our canvas, under our panel, is the score text and the Hitpoint text. Let's just go ahead and drag and drop them right in there. Okay, so now we know that this very field over here, so if we call this field, it is going to be reference to the score text object, so to this component right here. So this is equal to this, and Hitpoint, this is equal to that. Okay, now what exactly is inside of that text component? We can see a lot of things. Well, first there's this text property, there is the font, font style, font size. We could change all of that using our field over here. So let's go ahead and change the first one, the one we're interested in, which is the text. So let's go, say, in the, let's do the awake actually. So let's call this only once so we can see if it works. So let's do score text dot text is equal, and then we could say hello world. Let's save this just to test it out, guys. Just to test it out. Press play. And as you can see, the score text has been modified to hello world. And that is how we are going to put our score in there. So we're going to be modifying this very value. Okay. Okay, so let's use the awake just like we used to start. We're going to say score text is equal to 0. We start at 0. Or actually, even better than that, we're going to say score text is equal to score dot toString. The reason we do toString is because this is a int value. So this is a number, and then by calling toString just like this, we turn this number into letters. We'll do the same thing for the hit point. So hit point text is equal, actually never mind, hit point text dot text is equal to hit point dot toString. Same thing up here, so score text dot text is equal to that. Little mistake on my part. Well, let's just go take a look at what this gives us. If we press play, then we get these numbers, 0 and 3, which are actually the good numbers. So we have 0 in score and we have 3 hit point. But this isn't really explaining me much, so if I was a new player, I wouldn't know what these value means. Let's change this around, and we're actually going to format our string a little bit. So where it says score.text is equal to score.toString, we're actually going to add a string before that. So we're going to say score.text is equal to current score, 2 dots, then we're going to close the quotes, and we're going to do plus. So we're taking that string, and we're taking that one, and we're making it a single string, which is going to be stored inside of the score text. Let's do the same thing over here. I'll just say hit point plus hit point dot toString. If we press play on this, you can see that it is now way more understandable for new players. Now, what was to happen if we were to jump off the stage? Hit point is still equal to 3. But that's not actually the case. If you remember correctly, when we fall off the stage, we should lose a hit point. Let's do that again. So we just called failure. Failure is only called when hit point is equal or below 0. But up here it says we're still at 3. And why is that exactly? That is because we never actually update our text. Now, I've just said the word update, but we're not going to be putting this thing in here. The reason is we don't want to be setting it every single frame. We don't want to be changing the text, say 30 times a second, because that's really expensive. Operation on strings, especially strings like that, are really expensive. So we need to modify it only when we need to modify it. So which is pretty much only when the value change. So let's go ahead and take hit point here. So hit point text, let's put it right in this field over here. So in this if. So every frame we check, is the player below 10? If yes, we are going to change, well, his hit point first. So we're going to remove one hit point, and then we're going to change the text of our hit point text. Let's go ahead and try this out in game. So let's fall, and as you can see up here, hit point is now equal to 2, is equal to 1, is equal to 0. Now the game would stop, but if we keep going, -1, and so on. Alright, so we know that this works. We are now going to change the score. We actually never really used our coin before, but we're going to do that right now. Let's go back in our player script. And down here is where we actually deal with the coin. If you remember, we simply destroyed that coin. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back inside of Level Manager. We're going to create another function. So let's call it collect coin. And we're going to be calling this from our player script. So remember, we do level manager dot instance dot the public function that we've just created, which is called collect coin. So now whenever our player hits a coin, this is run, so it goes back in the level manager script, it runs this, and then it comes back, destroy the coin. Okay, so what exactly happens when we get a coin? We're going to do score plus plus, and we're going to modify the text just like we do up here. So score.text is now equal to current score plus score string. Again, let's test that out. So if you remember correctly, we go in the prefab folder. We still have our coin saved because we made a prefab out of it. Let's drag and drop that right in the game and hit play. Boom. We just got the coin. Current score is now equal to 1. Good, so that pretty much concludes it, but there's something that annoys me a little bit. This is not a cube, and it doesn't have our texture, so let's just go ahead and fix that. I'll make a new cube. I'll put the coin material on it. Gotta create it first, so coin material. Using the same texture. Let's make this one yellow this time. Or we already have jump pad that are yellow. Let's make this another color actually. Let's use pink or bright green. Oh, I already have green, so let's use. Do we have a pink? Oh yeah, teleporter as well. Okay. That's a really hard question actually. Let's make them red. Oh no, red looks dangerous. Okay. I'll just put them orange or something. Well, whatever you choose, guys. Just make sure that you have your coin tag on it. So up here, choose coin. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna make that smaller, a lot smaller actually. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. Okay, so that's my coin right here. Fairly small, but this is what I'll be using. So override your old prefab if you still have one. I'm going to call this coin. Drag and drop this on top of my old coin prefab and hit replace. Now let's put this, say, here. Also here. And maybe one down there. So we don't cheat and take the easy way out. Okay. Press play. And I'm collecting the coin. Current score is now equal to 1. To go back there to get my coin. Oh, damn. Okay. This is a really, really hard game, by the way. There we go. Current score number 2. Or not number 2, but value 2. And I just failed. Really bad. Okay, guys. Well, that's pretty much it for this episode again. If you enjoyed or if you learned something, please leave it a like. If you have any question or comment, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, subscribe for more tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll be seeing you in the next episode. Almost made it. Okay, there we go. Nice. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.